We've got a question from a listener or viewer named Logan, and he says, "Hello, Dr. J. Really enjoy your channel and content. Your demeanor is so refreshing. And yes, you do naturally smile when you talk, which is a great trait. I have been wrestling with free will and determinism and wanted your take on passages like Genesis 50:20 and Acts 4:28. It seems like God was the active cause in the sinful actions of Joseph's brothers and those who crucified Jesus. Specifically on the crucifixion, if God predetermined it, then doesn't that guarantee that someone has to sin in that instance? Thank you." Well, so Eric, as the resident Molinist here, you already have your resolution for how God brought those two things about, the selling of Joseph into slavery or God orchestrating the crucifixion of Jesus. So maybe, Eric, I'll toss it to you, then I'll bring it back to me. How would you say to Logan's question, doesn't that guarantee that someone has to sin in that instance?
No, it doesn't guarantee, and when he says, just to clarify, what is that he's referring to?
Specifically on the crucifixion, if God predetermined it, then doesn't that guarantee that someone has to sin in that instance? So maybe that refers to predetermination.
Right, so what does predetermination mean, right? Unfortunately, some people think Calvinists own certain biblical words, like election or predestination.
Or dead, Yeah.
Right. I was talking to a Calvinist once, and he asked me why I was a Molinist, and I said, well, no. First, I asked him why he's a Calvinist, and he said, well, because I believe in Scripture and God's sovereignty and in predestination. I was like, you can't just, those aren't your words. I said, okay, ask me why I'm a Molinist. He said, why are you a Molinist? I said, because I believe in the Bible, predestination, God's sovereignty, and election, whatever.
Yeah.
In other words, not one view owns those words, so to speak. So to predestine means to just essentially choose beforehand. And if God has middle knowledge and knows what everyone would do in any circumstance, then he can choose beforehand which world to create, knowing what free creatures would do. So if God's predestining in that sense, there's no causation happening. Everyone still has libertarian free will. They're the first movers of their actions, and God, just knowing what they would do, could create a world in which they do that very thing.
Okay, so that's your answer for Logan. It doesn't guarantee. So you mean you interpret his use.
It would guarantee it.
Oh, okay.
It would guarantee it.
It would guarantee that someone's sin.
Oh, well, okay. I thought you meant the outcome. Does it guarantee someone's sins? No. Assuming he's talking about prophecy, is that right?
No, this is about the crucifixion of Jesus being orchestrated by God and the Joseph being sold into slavery being orchestrated by God.
Yeah, does that that's kind of what I'm getting at, is if God's orchestrating it, he's orchestrating in the sense that he knows what people would freely do. Does it guarantee someone would sin? No, but the fact that someone is going to sin, God can use someone's sinful choices and orchestrate using their sinful choices to orchestrate something good coming out of that. So Scripture says that what they intended for evil, God meant for good. Just like, again, someone's a sting operation, or let's put it this way, there have been cases, I'm sure, where someone hires a hitman on their wife. Well, thank God that the quote unquote hitman they hired was an undercover cop.
Mm.
Well, or even people, I don't want to get this, video demonetized, but even people catching, let's say, certain kind of predators, if you will.
Right.
There's people, vigilantes, who just make an account on certain websites, talk to these predators, and kind of puts them on video. Now, are they causing any of that? No. Does them making an account guarantee someone is going to go after the vulnerable, if you will? No. But knowing that these people are already doing that, they are setting up a circumstance in which they can be the ones to catch them, as opposed to a vulnerable person who, might get caught up in something really, really horrible. So again, if God knows someone's going to sin, then he's not the one guaranteeing they sin. They are guaranteeing that they will sin. God, knowing this, can use that to bring about something good.
So let me, before I answer Logan's question with how I would answer it, let me employ cosmic septic. So his earlier question about the principle of alternative possibilities. You talk about the sting operation or the predator catching a pedo online. The question about PAP here, let me find it again. Question for Eric. Under Molinism, do you have access to the principle of alternative possibilities? If not, how does libertarian free will work without it in your view? So I guess in light of the predator, does the pedo still have... Now that might be a weak analogy, because God knows what you would do. On Molinism, God knows what you would do in circumstance C. Is there an alternative possibility for person A in C? Is it viable? Is the alternative possibility viable or not?
Yes. Yeah. So this is essentially a more sophisticated version of what I've already said. I don't see why people think there's a tension to begin with.
Okay.
God knows what I will do, and I will freely do it. There is no inherent or explicit logical friction or tension or incompatibility there. That God knows what I will do, and I freely do it. You just take those two statements. There's no logical contradiction. What the person is asking is basically that, because I can put it this way: in circumstances C, I will do X, but I could have done Y. Make that one proposition. That could be true even if I never do Y. So do I still have the ability to do something different when circumstances C arise? Yes, I just won't do it. So I don't, this has always been mind-boggling to me, because I don't see why it's a problem. Now, people may say, yeah, but you're not going to do Y. Yeah, I know I'm not going to do Y, but I still could if I wanted to in this situation. I just didn't want to. So nothing about what I will do removes the fact that, I can't do something else. This might help people in general. And you see how the future and counterfactuals are, they kind of, any argument against one could be used as an argument against the other, essentially. So let's put it this way. Here's another way people have argued this. If God knows I'm going to mow the lawn tomorrow, then I have to do it. I can't do otherwise, right? So it moves that dual ability, that alternative possibility. Otherwise, that could be wrong. Note how, if that's the case, that would apply to anybody's knowledge, anyone's knowledge. So if I know that Kurt's going to mow the grass tomorrow, well, knowledge by definition is going to be at least a justified true belief. So if I know you will cut the grass tomorrow, and that entails that my belief you'll cut the grass tomorrow is true, then guess what? You're going to cut the grass tomorrow. Did I cause you to do that? No.
Well, maybe you don't know that I'm going to cut the grass tomorrow. Maybe you just believe that I will cut the grass tomorrow. Okay, right. And then we would argue, well, what is knowledge, right? And without going to that, I don't see why I couldn't know. What would prevent me, other than an open theist or someone in those camps wanting to deny me for knowledge, so to speak? So, yeah, again, if I know, because really, justified true belief. I believe something, I'm justified in believing it. If I know you're going to do it, then it's going to happen. Just because God knows it or I know it doesn't make a difference as to whether or not it's going to happen. This is essentially, again, fatalism. For the fatalist, if there are true propositions of the future, then it's fated, necessarily going to happen. Theological fatalism just has God. Now put those propositions in God's mind. Same thing. But I don't see how a statement in the future being true or false somehow removes my free ability to do something else if I wanted to, or that I could do something else. And the last thing I'll say is I don't think the principle of alternative possibilities is necessary for libertarian freedom. I think it's sufficient, but not necessary. I think the only thing that's necessary is that you are the first mover of your will. If you're the first mover, all bets are off. You have libertarian freedom. If I can't do otherwise, that's okay. As long as I am the first mover, then I have libertarian freedom. And of course, if you have principle of alternative possibilities, dual ability, and I can do otherwise, then I have libertarian freedom. But that would be sufficient, not necessary.